reciting the Sanskrit.
Please go ahead, Mataji.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. अथ अष्टादशोऽध्यायः टेक्स्ट 1 अर्जुन उवाच सन्न्यासस्य महाबाहो तत्त्वमिच्छामि वेदितुम् त्यागस्य च ऋषिकेश पृथक् केशे निषेधन.
Arjuna said, O mighty armed one, I wish to understand the purpose of renunciation, tyaga, and of the renounced order of life, sannyasa. O killer of the Kesi demon, master of the senses.
Text 2 श्री भगवान उवाच काम्यानां कर्मणां न्यासं सन्न्यासं कवयो विदुः सर्वकर्म फलत्यागं प्राहुस्त्यागं विचक्षणः.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, the giving up of activities that are based on material desire is what great learned men call the renounced order of life, sannyasa. And giving up the results of all activities is what the wise call renunciation, tyaga.
Text 3 त्याज्यं दोषवदित्येके कर्म प्राहुर्मनीषिणः यज्ञदानतपः कर्म न त्याज्यमिति चापरे.
Some learned men declare that all kinds of fruitive activities should be given up as faulty, yet other sages maintain that acts of sacrifice, charity, and penance should never be abandoned.
Text 4 निश्चयं शृणु मे तत्र त्यागे भरतसत्तम त्यागो हि पुरुषव्याघ्र त्रिविधः सम्प्रकीर्तितः.
O best of the Bharatas, now hear my judgment about renunciation. O tiger among men, renunciation is declared in the scriptures to be of three kinds.
Text 5 यज्ञदानतपः कर्म न त्याज्यं कार्यमेव तत् यज्ञदानं तपश्चैव पावनानि मनीषिणाम्.
Acts of sacrifice, charity, and penance are not to be given up. They must be performed. Indeed, sacrifice, charity, and penance purify even the great souls.
Text 6 एतान्यपि तु कर्माणि सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा फलानि च कर्तव्यानीति मे पार्थ निश्चितं मत्तमुत्तमम्.
All these activities should be performed without attachment or any expectation of result. They should be performed as a matter of duty, O son of Pritha. That is my final opinion.
Text 7 नियतस्य तु सन्न्यासः कर्मणो नोपपद्यते मोहात् तस्य परित्यागस्तामसः परिकीर्तितः.
Prescribed duties should never be renounced. If one gives up his prescribed duties because of illusion, such renunciation is said to be in the mode of ignorance.
Text 8 दुःखमित्येव यत्कर्म कार्यकलेशमया त्यजेत् सकृत्वा राजसं त्यागं नैव त्यागफलं लभेत्.
Anyone who gives up prescribed duties as troublesome or out of fear of bodily discomfort is said to have renounced in the mode of passion. Such action never leads to the elevation of renunciation.
Text 9 कार्यमित्येव यत्कर्म नियतं क्रियते अर्जुन सङ्गत्यक्त्वा फलं चैव त्यागः सात्विको मतः.
O Arjuna, when one performs his prescribed duty only because it ought to be done and denounces all material association and all the attachment to the fruit, his renunciation is said to be in the mode of goodness.
Text 10 न द्वेष्ट कुशलं कर्म कुशलेनानुसज्जते त्यागे सत्त्वसमाविष्टो मेघाविच्छिन्न संशयः.
The intelligent renouncer, situated in the mode of goodness, neither hateful of inauspicious work nor attached to auspicious work, has no doubts about work.
Text 11. न हि देहभृता शक्यं त्याक्तुं कर्माण्यशेषतः यस्तु कर्मफलत्यागे स त्यागीत्यभिधीयते.
It is indeed impossible for an embodied being to give up all activities, but he who renounces the fruit of action is called one who has truly renounced.
Text 12. अनिष्टमिष्टं मिश्रं च त्रिविधं कर्मणः फलं भवत्यत्यागिनां प्रेत्य न तु सन्न्यासिनां क्वचित्.
For one who is not renounced, the threefold fruits of action, desirable, undesirable, and mixed, accrue after death. But those who are in the renounced order of life have no such fruit to suffer or enjoy.
Text 13. पश्चैतानि महाबाहो कारणानि निबोध मे सांख्ये कृतान्ते प्रोक्तानि सिद्धये सर्वकर्मणाम्.
O mighty Arjuna, according to the Vedanta, there are 5 causes for the accomplishment of all action. Now learn of these from me.
Text 14. अधिष्ठानं तथा कर्ता कारणं च पृथग्विधं विविधाश्च पृथक् चेष्टा दैवं चैवात्र पश्चमम्.
The place of action, the body, the performer, the various senses, the many different kinds of endeavor, and ultimately the supersoul. These are the 5 factors of action.
Text 15. शरीर वाग्मनोद्भिद कर्म प्रारभते नरः न्यायं वा विपरीतं वा पञ्चैते तस्य हेतवः.
Whatever right or wrong action a man performs by body, mind, or speech is caused by these 5 factors.
Text 13. तत्रैवं सति कर्तारम् आत्मानं केवलं तु यः पश्यत्य कृतबुद्धित्वान् स पश्यति दुर्मतिः.
Therefore, one who thinks himself the only doer, not considering the 5 factors, is certainly not very intelligent and cannot see things as they are.
Text 17. यस्य नाहं कृतो भावो बुद्धिर्यस्य न लिप्यते हत्वापि स इमान् लोकान् हन्ति न निबध्यते.
One who is not motivated by false ego, whose intelligence is not entangled, though he kills man in this world, does not kill, nor is he bound by his actions.
Text 18. ज्ञानं ज्ञेयं परिज्ञाता त्रिविधा कर्म चोदना करणं कर्म कर्तेति त्रिविधः कर्म संग्रह.
Knowledge, the object of knowledge, and the knower are the 3 factors that motivate action. The senses, the work, and the doer are the 3 constituents of action.
Text 19. ज्ञानं कर्म च कर्ता च त्रिदेव गुणभेदतः प्रोच्यते गुणसंज्ञाने यथावत् शृणुतान्यपि.
According to the 3 different modes of material nature, there are 3 kinds of knowledge, action, and performer of action. Now hear of them from me.
Text 20. सर्वभूतेषु येनेकं भावमव्यमीक्षते अविभक्तं विभक्तेषु तज्ज्ञानं विद्धि सात्विकम्.
That knowledge by which one undivided spiritual nature is seen in all living entities, though they are divided into innumerable forms, you should understand to be in the mode of goodness.
Text 21. पृथक्त्वेन तु यज्ञानं नानाभावान् पृथग्विधान् वेत्ति सर्वेषु भूतेषु तज्ज्ञानं विद्धि राजसम्.
That knowledge by which one sees that in every different body there is a different type of living entity, you should understand to be in the mode of passion.
Text 22. Yattu krutasna vedakshmin karye saktam hetukam atatvartha vadalpam shratatta samudrahutam.
And that knowledge by which one is attached to one kind of work as the all in all, without knowledge of the truth, and which is very meager, is said to be in the mode of darkness.
Text 23. Niyatam sangarahitam aragadvesatah kritam afala prepshuna karma yatas sattvikam uchyate.
That action which is regulated and which is performed without attachment, without love or hatred, and without desire for fruitful results, is said to be in the mode of goodness.
Text 24. Yatu kamepsuna karma shahankarena va punah kriyate bahulayasam tadraja samudrahutam.
But action performed with great effort by one seeking to gratify his desires and enacted from a sense of false ego is called action in the mode of passion.
Text 25. Anubattam shrayam vinsam anapeksha cha paurusham mohadarabhyate karma yatatama samuchyate.
That action performed in illusion, in disregard of scriptural injunctions, and without concern for future bondage or for violence or distress caused to others, is said to be in the mode of ignorance.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare
Please forgive us
Krishna.
any
Thank
make
you.
mistake. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Usha Mataji and Yashwini Mataji. Thank you for that recitation. Just one thing I wanted to mention, Usha Mataji. So when you're reciting the verse, so for example, let's look at text 23. Niyatam sangarahitam aragadeva shatakritam afala prapushna karma yattat satvikam uchyate. So what happens is we need to, the meter of the verse is such that it ends on that line and then it starts again. So sometimes I know you're just making a start, but I thought I'll just mention it so that when you're reciting next time at home or practicing, so it just goes in one line like Niyatam Sangha. If there is a word called cha, it ends here and then the new line starts here. Tan tak tamasam udaritam, like that. Okay. But it was very nicely recited. Your
Thank you,
pronunciation
Prabhu.
of the verses were very appropriate. And thank you, Yashwini Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we will be discussing text 4 today. I'm just going to bring it up on my screen. Okay. Nishchayam shrinu me tatra tyage bharata sattama tyago hi purusha vyagraha trividha samprakirtita. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. O best of the Bharatas, now hear my judgment about renunciation. O tiger among men, renunciation is declared in the scriptures to be of three kinds. Purport. Although there are difference of opinion about renunciation, here the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, gives his judgment, which should be taken as final. After all, the Vedas are different laws given by the Lord. Here the Lord is personally present and his word should be taken as final. The Lord says that the process of renunciation should be considered in terms of the modes of material nature in which it is performed. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyat Deshatarine Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhube Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. O best of the Bharatas, now hear my judgment about renunciation. O tiger among men, renunciation is declared in the scriptures to be of three kinds. So here we have a verse which is actually very straightforward and very much and a very short purport as well. So let's see what we can discuss today. Very happy to be back among all of you. I was on a break of 2 weeks. I managed to sneak out of United Kingdom for 2 weeks to go to Vrindavan. And I just returned a few days ago. And thank you for the messages some of you have sent me. Very kind of you to think of me while I was away. So it was a very nice opportunity to be back in Dham, in the real home, which is Vrindavan. At this time, surprisingly, it was very busy because in India, the Kumbh is starting, the Kumbh Mela, and it goes on up to 40 days, I believe, this year. So that's why all the spiritual places become very, very busy. So Vrindavan was also very busy, but we had some good opportunities. So we'll probably, let's finish the verse today, and then if you all wish, I can share some of my experiences and what we did in Vrindavan, if you like. So do let me know if that's something you're interested in hearing. Then after the session today, because it is a shorter verse, I'm happy to share some of the temples which we visited, etc. So here we have this wonderful verse, wonderful chapter actually. The summary of chapter 1 to 6 really talks about, it is entitled the section called Karma section. And the practical application of this section is, acting with detachment is true renunciation and brings freedom from reaction. So this is what now we will hear, as Arjuna heard from Krishna, that what real renunciation is and how it is in different kinds of modes. Like we've been hearing in the previous chapter, how happiness, sacrifice, austerity. So we will hear a lot about that again in the beginning of this sort of 12 verses, how Krishna explains us this. So the theme of this particular verse is that Krishna's opinion is that there are three kinds of renunciation based on the three modes. And so the main highlight for us as a learning or a focus of learning, what I call it, is really what Srila Prabhupada is trying to highlight, that we also should accept. Sorry, I'm just going to mute everybody because there seems to be some background noises coming through. Okay. So Srila Prabhupada highlights in the purport a very important point, which we as a Gauriya Vaishnavas should really take it very, very sincerely and seriously. Prabhupada is saying that Lord's opinion stands above all the Vedas. After all, the Vedas are different laws given by the God. So this is directly from the purport of Srila Prabhupada, and how that his word should be taken as final. So it's a very important point that I may have an opinion, you may have an opinion about something, but our opinion and your opinion, my opinion and your opinion doesn't really matter. What matters is the opinion of Krishna and the opinion of scripture, because they are non-different. Why they are non-different? Because the scriptures are coming directly from the mouth of Lord. These are coming directly from Krishna. So that is why it is called opera knowledge, that this knowledge is opera means transcendental. It's not of this world. So it is very important to understand that the difference we have or we see between the mundane literature or Vedas actually. Here Prabhupada is saying Vedas are directly the words of the Lord, as we read in the purport. And whatever they are saying, that is, and now Krishna is saying that is his final opinion. So let's see what something Prabhupada says about this particular aspect of why the Vedas are the final word. Let's see it from Srila Prabhupada's words from a Back to Godhead article. Here, Prabhupada, perhaps we can have a devotee read the first paragraph. So why don't we have, let's see, who's new to chat? Maybe they can unmute themselves and say Hare Krishna. Anybody who's joined us in last few days or a week ago or something? Anyone?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, I don't mind doing it.
Oh, go ahead, Prabhu, if you'd like to read the first paragraph.
In India, if one person tells another, you must do this, the other party may say, what do you mean? Is this a Vedic injunction that I have to follow you without any argument? Vedic injunctions cannot be interpreted, but ultimately, if you carefully study why these injunctions are there, you will find that they are all correct.
You can carry on reading the paragraph, Prabhu, as well. Finish.
Hare Krishna. The Vedas are not compilations of human knowledge. Vedic knowledge comes from the spiritual world, from Lord Krishna. Another name for the Vedas is Shruti. Shruti refers to that knowledge which is acquired by hearing. It is not experimental knowledge. Shruti is considered to be like a mother. We take so much knowledge from our mother. For example, if you want to know who your father is, who can answer you? Your mother. If the mother says, here is your father, you have to accept it. It is not possible to experiment to find out whether he is your father. Similarly, if you want to know something beyond your experience, beyond your experimental knowledge, beyond the activities of the senses, then you have to accept Vedas. There is no question of experimenting. It has already been experimented. It is already settled. The version of the mother, for instance, has to be accepted as truth. There is no other way.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare
So,
Krishna.
thank you very much. So I suppose it is very nicely explained by Srila Prabhupada. He's giving a very concise understanding of why one should accept the words of the Lord or the words of the Veda as a final conclusion. Because in our Shastras, it is explained that the Vedas are considered to be Shruti, which are none other than are represented as our mother, and the Lord is our father. So these words which are coming to us in a very authentic way, actually. And Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that I believe, is it the 5th chapter? Evam parampara praptam imam rajar sayo vidu sa kalenehe mahata yoga nashta parantapa. He's telling that, oh Arjuna, this knowledge I've given before, but the chain evam parampara praptam is coming in the disciplic succession. However, in the due course of time, this disciplic succession was broken, and I have come here to again reestablish the same knowledge and tell you this. So like this, Krishna comes either directly or through the scriptures or through his pure devotees to tell us what is good for humankind. So Krishna is very kind that he comes and tells us that we must do this, we must act in a certain way. We must use this human form of life as a vehicle to cross over the world of nescience, which is full of miseries. Prahlad Maharaj in the 7th canto, in the 5th chapter, entitled, is it the 5th chapter? Entitled, Prahlad instructs the children of demoniac parents or children in the school. Right in the 2nd or the 3rd verse there, Prahlad Maharaj is telling to the children that after the Kumaran Achrat verse, which is the first verse, that how one should at the very early age should start to begin practicing Krishna consciousness, he's telling in the subsequent verses that this human form of life is a very special junction which has been provided to us in order to understand the scriptures and in order to understand the devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If we do not do that, and he writes, the verse is very precisely says the translation, that if we simply use the objects of the senses in making the touch with the body for our own enjoyment, then we are actually no better than the animals in that sense. So Prahlad Maharaj gives us a very profound teaching there that now that we have this human form of life, let's engage it very, very nicely by surrendering to the Lord of devotional service. And the process of devotional service, which he explained to his good father in the previous chapter, in the verse, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Vandanam, Archanam, Sakhyam, Dasyam, Atma Nivedanam. I may have forgotten one element. So in that verse, Prahlad Maharaj explains very, very nicely to his father that these are the 9 ways of engaging in devotional service. And Srila Prabhupada gives an 8 to 9 pages long purport to that beautiful verse in a very, very wonderful and a very nice way with many analogies in it. Especially he emphasizes on hearing, chanting, Shravanam, Kirtanam. And then he goes on to explain much more detail in Archanam, in deity worship. So going back to the point of Shravanam has been very much emphasized in our line. You see, the art of hearing is a very important aspect actually. Today I was hearing a lecture of my spiritual master in which he was saying that whatever activities we are performing or the desires which are impelling us to perform a certain kind of activity, they are all to do with the kind of vibration we have heard in the previous life or even in this life actually. Because if we are driven towards performing materialistic activities, and if our mindset is so driven to enjoy the sense gratification, that means that we have had a very, unfortunately, very sinful life. Or we have had, Prabhupada says, the Nectar of Devotion, Rupa Goswami explains that any activity which does not invoke love of God or devotional service is actually considered sinful from one perspective. So from that perspective, because we have not given our ears in the previous course of our lives or in this life a lot to the transcendental vibration, and because of that, we are impelled in a certain direction. However, Guru Maharaj was saying that as a human, we have a special prerogative that we can undo that. Imagine that, if somebody comes and tells you, if you go and tell somebody and stop someone somewhere on the Watford High Street, person is walking, hopefully after lockdown, we will see many people walking on the high street with the shopping bags, and you try to stop somebody. So let's say Dev Kishan Prabhu, who read this 2 paragraphs, he stops someone and says, and who's there on? Okay, so he's going to stop. Rupa Mataji is walking there, and he stops Rupa Mataji. She has a Marks and Spencer shopping bag in her hand. And she says, "Excuse me, madam." And Rupa Mataji stops, and Dev Kishan Prabhu says, "I just wanted to let you know that we have a beautiful temple here at Bhaktivedanta Manor. And we worship Lord Krishna in the temple. And there, the name of the Lordships is Shri Shri Radha Gokulanand. And 5,000 years ago, the Lord left some instructions for mankind in form of Bhagavad Gita. And we as a volunteer at the temple, having experienced some happiness in reading this wonderful literature, thought it is a good idea to meet some people on the street, make friends and share this literature with them. And I would like to introduce you this wonderful literature to you." And Rupa Mataji, who has not heard of devotional service previously, may show some reluctance or may, because of her pious credits in her previous life, may immediately accept the Bhagavad Gita and say, "Oh, I would love to have a Gita. How much can I give you?" Well, Dev Kishan Prabhu is going to turn around and say, "I refuse to sell. We don't sell this literature. It's too valuable to be sold. You give what you can. Many people give their lives, but you can give whatever you like." So Rupa Mataji says, "Okay, I can give you £5. Is that okay?" And Dev Kishan, "Absolutely." And then they depart. Prabhu gives some prasadam, invites her to the temple in the future. And now Rupa Mataji goes home. She had a very different idea when she went out for shopping. I mean, she was completely thinking of shopping. She came back and now she has Bhagavad Gita. She keeps the shopping bag on the side and she opens the book and she reads the introduction to the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says, Srila Prabhupada writes that in the beginning, one may not have a faith in this wonderful literature. But if simply one simply theoretically accepts the fact that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead for time being, then he becomes the rightful student to accept this Bhagavad Gita. So just at that moment, if Rupa Mataji decides to give her attention to the remaining part of the Bhagavad Gita, her process of perfecting the human life and accepting the words of the Lord in the form of the Shruti, which is coming this time from Bhagavad Gita or from a pure devotee like Srila Prabhupada, begins actually. So from there on, the process, because she had a little faith, she took that literature and she started to read. And from there, Krishna will arrange association for her. And like that, she can gradually take to the other processes of devotional service. But the fact remains same that Shravanam and Kirtanam are the very important aspects of our spiritual life. And going back to my point is that the more we offer our ears in front of the transcendental vibration and our eyes towards Srila Prabhupada books and our tongue towards chanting the holy name and our sense of touch in holding the beads or worshipping Tulsi or smelling the flowers or holding the paraphernalia of the deities as we worship them, the sooner we are going to perfect our life, because our senses are quite contaminated in this stage right now. And the more we engage our senses through these wonderful processes which have been given to us by Srila Prabhupada in the form of beautiful temple, various ways of worshipping the deities, serving the Vaishnavas, walking on the spiritual places, doing the parikrama of the various places, the sooner the purification will come and we'll be able to perfect our life and go back to the spiritual world. So the essence of this particular verse is that Krishna is trying to build some momentum and telling Arjuna, please take this as a final verdict for me. Now you've asked me about renunciation and various other things like austerities and other aspects. And now I'm going to begin to explain them, but there are three kinds. And those three kinds are based on the three modes of material, which are goodness, passion, and ignorance. And that will be discussed in the subsequent verses, which will be taking on from tomorrow in the association of Mukunda Hari Prabhu. So if anybody has any comments or any questions at this stage, I will happily take. If not, I can then share. Okay, we have some devotees who would like me to share my experience of going to Vrindavan. Welcome back, Prabhu. Thank you, Rita Mataji. Right. Okay, great. So, well, if there are no burning reflections or questions, then I can share a few things and then we can take question and answers. So, yeah, I had a rare fortune and a privilege to be able to visit Dham by the blessings of my spiritual master, because just by thinking, actually, that's what I thought. That was my material thinking. Oh, let me go to Vrindavan, because my family had been to India a few weeks earlier before me. My wife visited my in-laws in Assam. She's from Assam. My father-in-law wasn't keeping well. His health isn't great right now, but he's recovering. And then they visited my family, my parents in Vrindavan, who live in Vrindavan. So I was also thinking that probably it's not a bad idea to join the family and visit Dham, although it was a bit risky, but somehow I thought, let's just go and see what happens. And then just a day before, I realized that I've decided myself of going to Dham without any blessings of my spiritual master. So I wrote to my spiritual master and he very kindly gave me the blessing. Yes, you may visit the Dham with an attitude to serve here, serve the devotees, and may you be empowered there by Srimati Radharani to help spread the Sankirtan movement. So in that spirit, I went to Vrindavan and it was good few days. We were there for 10, 11 days. Couple of days in between, we went to Jaipur. Jaipur has beautiful deities, original deities, which were worshipped in Vrindavan earlier. So my first experience in Vrindavan, I have to say, share with all of you, was quite a profound one. When I entered Vrindavan, all the temples had just opened a few weeks before, and people had masks where they could, but some didn't, and there was a lot of crowd. And there in the north, there were hardly any cases coming up, and we didn't hear of any in Vrindavan while I was there. So as I entered, we had the darshan, beautiful darshan, and then there was a time for Bhagavatam class. And I thought, wow, I can now sit for a Bhagavatam class and I can see the devotees to my left and to my right, and I can see the Vyasasana, and I can see a Srila Prabhupada disciple sitting there on the Vyasasana, Vaisakhi Prabhu, who was giving the lecture. And when I looked around and I saw the deities, Radha Shyam Sundar, Krishna Balaram, and Shishi Gaurnitai, I felt, oh Krishna, where have I been for a year? I've not had this amazing privilege to physically be present in a Bhagavatam class and hear from the devotees in the presence of the devotees. So that was something I felt. And in that moment, obviously, I think when I went home, I got a message from a friend of mine from here, devotee friend, who said, Prabhu, just to let you know, you'll have to pay 210 pounds when you come back for the COVID test per person. That meant 840 pounds. You have to do 2 tests when you arrive back in the country. And I said, oh, Krishna, that's going to be a costly trip. But when I attended the second class, I felt, you know what, this 840 pounds is worth the effort of to come to Vrindavan and hear one Bhagavatam class in the, or 2 or 3 Bhagavatam class in the presence of Vaishnavas, and to be able to walk on the land of Vrindavan. And I had a very nice experience. So we spent few days, obviously mostly our time at Krishna Balaram temple, and a lot of our time in the morning. Sridham, obviously his school was starting in the afternoon. He was able to have a virtual schooling. What we did, he used to spend at least 2 hours in Goshala every morning. That was his routine, and we carried on with that routine. And I have to say, just being able to hang around with the cows in Vrindavan, touch them, graze them, feed them laddus, and seeing the kids playing with them, I just felt that that whole year of pressure of COVID was just completely taken off me. Because I remember once, like, we were taking some guidance from His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrit Maharaj about what, when we have stressful situations or anxieties or a sense of depression, what should we do? And Maharaj simply said, just go and hang around with the cows, and you will see a change in your aura and energy immediately. And you can see that sense of love Maharaj has. Of course, every devotee loves cows because cows are so dear to Krishna, and why not? So we spent a lot of our time in Goshala, Krishna Balaram temple. And then one morning, myself and my wife, we went for one Vrindavan parikrama, just the whole parikrama of Vrindavan. That was really blissful. It's about, I think it takes about 2 hours and 15 minutes if you do it on a decent speed. And visited Yamunaji, visited the temples, and it was a nice experience. It was a very cold road in the morning, but it was really nice to be able to walk up and have the parikrama of Vrindavan. And then we visited Sri Radhakund. I felt there was some purification. I was not well towards the end of the trip. And then somehow we gathered the strength. We went to Radhakund. We had the parikrama there. And then we visited the temples, took darshan of Radhakund temples. All the Goswami temples are also there. Radha Damodar, Radha Govindji, Radha Gopinath, Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra. And took Achman. I had temperature, so I couldn't really think of taking bath. And it's not ideal when you're not well, because it's Srimati Radharani directly. So we had that beautiful darshan, and in between we took a break to go to Jaipur, where original deities. So this is where I want to share with you. So you see, Shishi Radha Govindev temple, which is Radha Govindji temple, which is in Vrindavan. Those deities were worshipped directly by Srila Rupa Goswami. And Srila Rupa Goswami worshipped them for many, many years. And after the departure of Srila Rupa Goswami, when there was a threat from Aurangzeb, Raja Jai Singh from Jaipur at that time came in and very secretly took these deities away and established them in Jaipur. He obviously hid them for some time and then he established them. So Radha Govindji temple is worshipped in City Palace of Jaipur, in a very fortress place. And thousands of people go there to take darshan, attend the aarti. Unfortunately, we couldn't get the Govindji Prasadam, which you get a famous laddu. Because of COVID, they were still trying to keep certain restrictions. So that aarti and that atmosphere was really sublime. It was really so nice to see the bhav of those devotees also in Jaipur. They're almost like Brajvasis because they sing this beautiful bhajan, of Radha Govindji. And Vrindavan Chand Prabhu often, every day he takes darshan of those deities. They're very dear to him as well. And there is a very special energy you feel when you're with those deities. You see, the reason you feel a special energy with a certain deities is because of the bhav of the devotee which has gone in and worshipping those devotees. Because Rupa Goswami, our Param Goswami, That's why we are called Rupanugas. He's invested all his love and devotion in the devotees and the deities. So you feel that special um, presence when you're there. And then we visited Radha Gopinath. Radha Gopinath were the beautiful deities which were discovered by Madhu Pandit in Vrindavan in a forest as he was going around in a bush. He opened the bush and he saw this beautiful form of the Radha Gopinath. And Radha Gopinath has a watch, and there are different pastimes about this watch. And I remember one when the Pujari told me many years ago when we were staying and living in Jaipur, he said, somebody asked, how come the darshan was late? So the Pujari said, you see, Gopinath ji is wearing a watch. He likes to give darshan when he feels like according to his watch. He doesn't work according to our watch. So like that, there are many other pastimes which the devotees there say about these wonderful stories. Very effulgent, beautiful deities in the old city, not far from Govindji. They are the deities of Madhu Pandit and His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj and His Holiness Indradyumna Maharaj. When we were living in Jaipur, this was in 2010 or early, 2011 early, what they did, they found the coat of Madhu Pandit somewhere, I think it was in Vrindavan, made of net material from tree, I think. And they took that beautiful coat of Madhu Pandit and they installed it as a little museum there next to the Radha Gopinath temple. I don't know how many, anybody who's here been to Radha Gopinath temple, maybe send a message in the chat so I know. There is a beautiful quote of Madhu Pandit there, and it's a worshipable thing. You take darshan, and there's a beautiful painting behind the quote of Madhu Pandit discovering these beautiful deities of Radha Gopinath, actually. And then from there, we had darshan of Vishalini Mataji and Navneet Chor Prabhu has been. That's wonderful. So then we went to Radha Damodar. Radha Damodar deities are also original deities which were worshipped by Srila Jiva Goswami in Vrindavan. So they were also taken, and they are near Choti Chopper in Jaipur. You see, Jaipur, you can still feel the vibe and a special energy in that city because of these deities. So we also have some attachment because I've spent my first job was in Jaipur. Then we got married and we stayed for a year in Jaipur. I was transferred from London. I took a transfer. So there you have Radha Damodar deities, which were worshipped by Srila Jiva Goswami. And then you have Radha Vinodi Lal, which is next to Radha Damodar deity. Radha Vinodi Lal deities are very beautiful, small deities. A very, very nice temple taken care of by a Gaudiya Vaishnava there. And he's been very merciful to us. We had our prasadam there both days while we were there. And really, every year when we were there, we used to have such nice relationship. And that temple struggles to keep up with the worship, and now he's trying to refurb the temple. So I would request if anybody would like to make any donations for the temple, I will share the pictures of those Radha Vinodi Lal deities on the WhatsApp group today. Feel free to contact me separately, and you can help that temple. It's going through a complete refurb. It's not supported by anybody. Few devotees who are locally live there, they're trying to do their best to keep that. And those deities are very powerful deities. They are the deities of Lokanath Goswami. Lokanath Goswami was the Guru Maharaj, a spiritual master of Narottam Das Thakur, a very famous personality in our line, actually. And these deities were worshipped directly by Lokanath Maharaj in Vrindavan. And now they are being worshipped in Jaipur. Of course, Vinodilal temple is also there in Vrindavan and in Radhakund on the Parikrama mark, but it's there in Jaipur, the original deities. Then if you go towards the Amber Fort, there is a beautiful place called Kanak Ghati. And in Kanak Ghati, you have a beautiful temple of Radha Madhav. And Radha Madhav are the deities of Jaidev Goswami, who's written the famous Gopi Geet and many other wonderful literatures, actually. Yeah, those deities are very, very effulgent, very beautiful, like the other original deities from Vrindavan. So you have these 5 prominent deities in Vrindavan. That's why in Jaipur, and that's why Jaipur is called Gupta Vrindavan. It's a very, very special place, actually. So we went there, and then we were back in Vrindavan. Then I visited on my last day, a day before, to Sri Radha Damodar, which is called the hub of the spiritual world. For us, it's a very special place because Srila Prabhupada was there for a few years. He wrote the first 3 volumes of Srimad Bhagavatam. He prayed to Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami there. Rupa Goswami Samadhi and his Bhajan Kutir is there. So I also begged the dust of the lotus feet of Sri Rupa Goswami that please empower the UK Yatra in taking this process of devotional service very sincerely, and help us expand the Sankirtan movement, which was the ultimate wish of Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami all over the world. And with that prayer, I paid my obeisances. I did my. It is explained by the Goswamis there who live of Radha Damodar. There is a beautiful Govardhan Shila they have, which has a footprint of Lord Krishna. And it is explained by, I do not know who, somebody may know here, but there is a mention of either by an acharya or somewhere that taking the parikrama of that Shila, or obviously that temple, as you go around, there is a samadhi, Pushpa Samadhi of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Lokanath Goswami, and many other exalted personality in the courtyard. There is a Goshala. As you come around and take the parikrama, it is said if you take the 4 parikramas of that entire long temple, it is as good as taking 1 parikrama of Govardhan, of Giriraj, which is 21 kilometers. So many devotees who are not able to walk up and do the full Govardhan parikrama, if you just did that, but who can walk should not take it as an advantage. But that day I prayed because I left the Govardhan parikrama to the end and I couldn't make it because of my health. So I thought, I guess I may have to take a shortcut. So I prayed to Radha Damodar there, and I did my 4 parikramas. I prayed and I came back. So in a nutshell, that was the trip of Vrindavan. It was really nice to be there amongst very few devotees, not that many, especially in the Bhagavatam class, etc. But also to be good with my parents and seeing how wonderfully they're progressing in Krishna consciousness. And I felt that seeing their sincerity was such an inspiration for all 4 of us and my family, that although the kids were there, it was very disturbing for them, and cooking and so many things were going on. But seeing them, they would always, when there was a time for them to read Bhagavatam and Ramayana and Bhagavad Gita, they would close their doors and do their daily quota. So I thought, wow, there are days when I get disrupted and carried away and I have to catch up on my reading pages if I miss out. Sometimes it happens with me. But seeing their sincerity was a very uplifting moment for me, and I could see the mercy of His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrit Maharaj, Mahanidhi Maharaj, who gave them that blessings to reside in Dham and dedicate their life in Varnashram Dharma, which they are doing right now. I felt very uplifted, actually. So that was a very good association for me while I was there. So many devotees have seen these beautiful deities like Krishnavani Mataji, Bhagwati Mataji. Yeah, if you ever get an opportunity to go to India, and of course, Vrindavan is the best place, but if you can also sneak out of Vrindavan, it's only a 4-hour drive to Jaipur. Beautiful road. You go via Bharatpur. And let me know. I'll give you the contact details of Vinodi Lalji Pujari. He will look after you from Prasadam and everything. And it's a beautiful place. Don't miss out. I mean, if I get a chance, it would be nice. I'll happily take all of you. Maybe we can plan a trip. We can go for a yatra for a couple of days to Jaipur. I have a senior devotee who can also tell us more katha and pastimes with us, who I can take. So we can plan something in the future, Krishna willing. So I will end there and see if anybody has any comments or any questions they would like to ask, or any reflections they would like to share.
Prabhu, in the Radha Damodar Mandir, where you saw the Shila, that Shila,
Yes,
Sanatan Goswami couldn't walk. So that Shila was, that is the reason that Shila is put there. So he goes around 4 times. So because he used to do Govardhan Parikrama every day, and from Vrindavan, he used to go and do the Madhukari.
Yes.
So that was the reason.
Yes, that's right. Thank you so much. It is true. Sanatan Goswami, it's the mercy of Sanatan Goswami that we have that shortcut in Vrindavan, and those powerful Shilas are there, actually. Thank you so much, Mataji, for bringing that to light. So looks like devotee Jyoti Mataji is happy with the experience. Thank you, Mataji. Kusum Mataji is also saying it was nice to hear about. Yeah, I mean, just to meditate on Vrindavan Dham is nice. And sometimes you all are in much better consciousness than I was while I was there, because it's better to have that consciousness of Vrindavan while we are here, mentally and spiritually, more than being there physically, because sometimes we can be there physically and take the dham for granted and make aparad. So unless we don't have the right consciousness, it's better to just be in the mood and or have the right mindset of Vrindavan, which all of you have, actually. So you all have been living more in Vrindavan than I was there physically, but I just shared what I tried to do while I was there.
Hare
Such
Krishna.
a Hare Krishna, Meena Mataji. You wanted to
And
ask something?
is what is like Kumbh Mela? You said like
Yeah,
more
Madhuji,
Kumbh.
Kumbh Mela happens, I believe, every 12 years. Srila Prabhupada visited the Kumbh Mela twice while he was in India. One time with all his disciples, and they had a lot of austere time. It's a very special time, and there are certain dates when you take bath in the Triveni, which is the three rivers which come together, Ganga, Yamuna, and Saraswati, I believe. Then it has a very high spiritual benefit, but equally it is said by our acharyas. But of course, Yamuna is flowing. So there were certain days in the month, if you were to take bath in the Kumbh in the Yamuna, that's why many people come who can't go to the Triveni Sangam, which is in Varanasi. Many people come to Vrindavan to take bath and do the parikrama because it's the month of Magh. It's a very, very profound month, actually. I didn't realize, all these things came to my light when I was feeling, oh God, thank God I'm in month of Magh and this and that. But yeah, it was a very, that's Kumbh Mataji. But there is a special significance of it after every 12 years. I don't have much details about it, but thousands and millions of people travel at that time, and they set up camps. And there are pastimes mentioned in Leelamrit where you will hear Prabhupada staying in a tent and many devotees, very austere conditions, very cold, and Prabhupada taking bath and disciples watching Prabhupada, and Prabhupada preaching to Mayavadis there, and doing wonderful activities in the Kumbh. So Kumbh in itself in the north of India is celebrated with a lot of pomp, but in Vrindavan, people come, and it was very crowded, actually, very, very crowded. I mean, during the weekends, you couldn't really drive around in Vrindavan, so you got to be just grounded and do your bhajan there. For me, one thing I want to share with all of you, this is been years of experience, which I couldn't do much. All the places, of course, Radha Damodar Mandir is very, very special. But when you walk up into Srila Prabhupada quarters, if you haven't had this experience, I'm sure many of you have had it already. But if anyone has not had and is planning to go to Karthik, if things look good this year or any time during the year or in the future, please take some time to do some chanting sitting in Srila Prabhupada quarters, actually. Because my personal experience, that one morning of Mangal Aarti or that few rounds which I chant, and me and my wife and my kids attended a wonderful kirtan of a Bengali devotee who was singing to Prabhupada there in Prabhupada quarters where Prabhupada left his body. That place has, and it is very individual where for me, that is the best place in the whole world, because I feel a special mercy, a special attraction to that place, because seeing Srila Prabhupada, that was his quarters, all his personal paraphernalia across the world, a lot of the things he uses there, and he's present, all the deities are around him, his bed is there where he was lying in those last days, and his mood which his disciples imbibed. So that is a very special place, and I've experienced when I go in Karthik and when I chant my morning rounds there, that rounds of chanting, even now when I came back and I was chanting, I was still thinking, trying to see if I could mentally still be present in front of Srila Prabhupada and chant those rounds. It's a very, very special place. So I highly recommend, if you have not had that experience, then go and chant with Srila Prabhupada in that place. Anybody who's chanted some rounds there in Prabhupada quarters? Hema Mataji is saying, yes, that's an experience, is tear-jerking. You experience Srila Prabhupada there. You do experience Srila Prabhupada there. That's what is special about, actually, that place.
It's a very special place, Prabhu. Yes, thank you so much. We've been there. And thank you for bringing the blessings of the Dham with you, because now we need it for the yatra. We fired up and go forward.
Yes, Prabhu, absolutely.
And
Thank
we're
you.
so happy to see you, because you are all effulgent. So we need to hug you somehow.
I'm not that effulgent, Prabhu.
It's our Dandvat Pranam to you, because you are coming from Dham, Prabhu. It's
My
really,
obeisances to all of you. Mataji.
please accept. Yes, wonderful.
Thank you. It was quite an interesting experience, because you have to be tested here, you have to be tested, you have to wait 5 hours at the airport. But at the end, once you enter Dham, it's all worth it, Mataji. So it was, I wouldn't highly recommend the trip, because it was a very spontaneous one for us. We decided sitting on a couch with my family, and my wife said, yeah, absolutely, it's been a difficult year. What do we do? I said, why don't you go to India and She said, "Are you serious?" I said, "It's not a bad idea. You can go to Vrindavan and, the whole year you would feel that it's just gone by like that." So in 2 days time, we got her test and my family flew. And then 3 weeks behind, I followed followed them actually. So it was, and they could do the schooling in the afternoon. So it was not so bad, because otherwise, if you think of it, in the holiday times, the tickets are expensive, this and that, and you can't really get away. So we just very spontaneously decided, asked our spiritual master, and just took that a bit of a risk and went for it, and had some purification, but it wasn't COVID, so it wasn't so bad. Great. So very happy to be back with all of you. I pray to Srila Prabhupada that he allows us to all enter mentally, physically, and spiritually into Dham for a few days to experience that Chintamani land, which is full of gems, which we cannot see from our eyes. All we see is the concrete and the buildings and complain about that. But the pure devotees who are living in the consciousness of Vrindavan, they can still see the pastimes being enacted by Shri Radha Shyamsundar and the various other gopas and the gopis of Vrajdham. So we can pray to those devotees that if they get so pleased by us in some form or other, that they can reveal the Dham through their mukh, through their talks, which are coming from their lotus mouth. And through that, we can hopefully build some qualification to really see what spiritual world Vrindavan is all about. Merely just by walking and physically being present and seeing the Dham is not really a Dham, but hearing from the Vaishnavas, as I said, that one experience of few classes of Bhagavatam has stayed with me in my heart, and hopefully will stay for until I'm able to again have darshan of Sri Vrindavan Dham. So I pray that all of you are able to visit Dham and this COVID situation improves, and experience the magic of being in Braj, both in Vrindavan, Mayapur, Jagannath Puri, and all the other places which Srila Prabhupada has visited, because all of them, we have one here at Bhaktivedanta Manor, so we can start with that as the COVID ends. To begin with, actually, Shri Shri Radha Gokulanand, it's non-different because it is considered as a tirtha, and the reason the GBC gave this a place, a tirtha, it is to do in line with where Prabhupada has stayed most, actually. So it is explained that after Los Angeles Temple in America, the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada has walked more on the land of UK, especially at Bhaktivedanta Manor. So we are really privileged to, actually you can feel the same glimpse, if not the whole effect, but at least a glimpse in Srila Prabhupada quarters when you chant upstairs. I can't remember when was the last time we all chanted there, but we are very lucky and very fortunate that we do have this beautiful dham here of Radha Gokulananda, and we can pray to Srila Prabhupada, please allow us to come and sit there and hear the Bhagavatam class. Let the Vaishnavas again fly over London to go to America, like His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrit Maharaj, Radhanath Maharaj, and many other exalted Vaishnavas. So we can have their association more, because you can only take so much of an online association. On that matter, I want to very happily and joyfully share with you that 2 days ago, I wrote to His Grace Amrendra Prabhu to invite him to give us our launching talk of Chaitanya Charitamrita, about how to read, live, and distribute Chaitanya Charitamrita. And Prabhu has very kindly agreed to give us his association on this coming Saturday. So please, if you could block your diary time, 5 to 7 p.m., the details will follow in a day or two. And Sunday, we have Sutapa Prabhu speaking in the same light. But before that, we will have Amrendra Prabhu, who's going to be giving us his association and talking the importance of this wonderful literature called Chaitanya Charitamrita through the campaign called Be a Gardener, which has been going on all over the world. So please make a note of this. Don't miss out this wonderful opportunity and a wonderful talk, which we will have. And so that's my prayer, that we soon have association of all the exalted Vaishnavas who are walking the earth still. Until then, please look after yourself, and hopefully I will meet you all again at some point this week. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhe vacha patitanam pavnebhyo.
Thank you,
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for
Jai
the
Hare
Hare
Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Wonderful.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you,
Welcome back.
Prabhuji. Hare
And
Krishna.
welcome back.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you.